15, reminiscing on regret. Now, Thanksgiving is that Thursday. Remember Randy's number one rule for me in the house is to cook. Nothing else, just cook. I was asked to go ahead and prepare Thanksgiving food for this little family of mine. Y'all had never done that before. I ain't never cooked no Cornish hen. I ain't really, at that time, had never cooked no dressing. Cabbage, mac and cheese, candy yams, all that was on the menu. Y'all, I did the best that I could in that kitchen that day. Randy knew that I hated, though, when others was in the kitchen while I'm in the kitchen trying to cook. So that was a number one rule that I had in that house. Don't go in that kitchen while mom in that kitchen. So on Thanksgiving, November 24th, I wake up at 6 a.m. I stayed up pretty late the night before trying to prep them Cornish hens. Everybody else in the house is asleep. I go in the kitchen. I cut on the TV. Y'all, my thing is to watch the parade on Thanksgiving morning. He tells me when he wakes up at around 8 that he needs to run to the grocery store. Now, I asked him, now, what do you need to get from the store? He wanted to cook one side that he so desperately wanted that day. Y'all, that had already irritated me because remember, I don't like nobody in the kitchen when I'm in the kitchen. So once I finished cooking, I went ahead and ate. And I told him that Nicole invited us over for Thanksgiving. Now, Nicole stayed about 7 minutes from us. He didn't want to go. So I chose to get dressed and went without him. Now, before I left the house, though, he asked me, was I taking the baby with him? Now, why would I take the baby if you staying at home? I don't want to be worried with no children because I'm going to go over here and join in on the festivities. Y'all, that man was so mad. He talking about, ask her if you could take the baby. I'm not doing that. So, of course, I get the text message while I'm gone. How you going to leave your family on Thanksgiving Day? You know, these guilt texts, yada, yada, yada. I wasn't even gone that long. Y'all, it was so hard for me to ever enjoy a holiday if it wasn't with him because he would call or text and want to start arguments just so I wouldn't have a good time. The narcissist's biggest fear is abandonment, and their soul, sadly, is full of shame and insecurity. They are constantly defending this with their manipulative ways and tactics. If the attention is on you for any reason, or they feel your happiness growing around a holiday, for example, it's threatening to them. You may see them tantrum and create drama to upset you. Now, I tried to enjoy myself the best way I knew how, but I couldn't. All I wanted was to not argue on Thanksgiving because why argue on the holidays? Narcissists have a hard time celebrating the big events of others. If there's a holiday gathering on the calendar, they will try to make themselves the center of attention through whatever means most natural and effective. Narcissists feel that holidays steal the spotlight that they themselves should own. Narcissists either try to grab it back by boasting and strong-arming everybody's attention. Alternatively, they will sabotage the celebratory mood for other people. I was not okay. Now, on November 26th, Big Mama and Will and them, all these organizations, put on their 5th annual Giving Thanks event downtown in Tent City. So Randy and I went out there to volunteer. I became extremely acclimated to the volunteers in that organization. At this point, we all family. Now, I noticed that Randy had stepped off to the side and was engaged in a serious conversation with Carter. Carter is Will's right-hand man. I watched as Randy prayed over Carter and loved on him because Carter was crying excessively that day. I later learned that Carter lost his significant other to suicide, and her funeral was held the day before this event. Carter felt that he could have done more, but he was in major pain from this tragic loss. Turns out, Randy knew her as well because they all went to college together. The Holy Spirit impressed upon my heart to go and share my testimony with Carter about my recent experience with almost making the same decision as his partner. Now, it was a hard conversation for me because I didn't really know Carter like that. Yeah, I had seen him a few times and we have embraced each other just like all of us do, but we never really had a heart-to-heart conversation until that day. We cried together and I actually ministered to his heart. I was being obedient. But Carter had no idea that he ministered to me as well that day. Our conversation lasted a very long time. Carter looked at me and told me that regardless of what anyone ever tells me, that I'm a beautiful person inside and out. I deserve to be among the living. I was loved. I had purpose. I was right where I was in that very moment because I was meant to be there. The man was giving me so many words of affirmation. I memorized them because it was the first time that I noticed somebody else in pain trying to encourage the healing out of me when it should have been vice versa. It's hard, y'all, watching a man weep because he wished that he could have done more for that girl. And he really loved that girl. He knew her challenges and where she struggled. He told me stories about how he was always near, even though she felt distant in this cold world. He spoke so highly of her, and I respected the hell out of that man for that. So all of a sudden, Randy walks over and he just stands there. Carter begins to tell Randy that I shared my testimony with him and we were encouraging one another because it's a hard season for a lot of people right now. Randy was listening to him and I was relieved because I didn't want to rehash that story back up no more. Randy told Carter that we had to go ahead and get going because we were doing date night at the movies. We stayed out at that event way later than expected. It was practically dark. But I was ready to go see Black Panther 2, baby. Oh, la, la, la. You know, I love Black Panther, okay? We left there and we went to Studio Movie Grill in City Center. We ate there. We watched the movies. Y'all, I love the movies. It's my favorite escape. We normally took 2 separate cars to Outreach because I don't typically get there as early or stay as late. So I'm in my own truck. We get on the freeway to head home and he trailing behind me. All of a sudden, he started speeding and zooming past me like a drunk driver. Y'all, he started going crazy on that freeway like he wanted to race. It was kind of weird because, y'all, I drive a Toyota RAV4. I don't have nothing close to a Hemi, baby. A tricycle could probably beat me. Hell. But anyway, we made it home. Now, I get in the house first, and it took him a while to come in. I got in the shower, and I got out. His daughter was with her mom that weekend, and my baby was with a babysitter. Y'all know Walker be with his daddy. So there was no one else home. Y'all, the bathroom in the master bedroom was a little small. So he was standing in the way as I was trying to get out of the doorway of the bathroom. I said, babe, can you please let me through? All of a sudden, he goes off. What's wrong with you? You can get the fuck out of my house. I'm like, bro, what you talking about? I just need to get out of this claustrophobic space because I literally just got out the shower. The man argued me down, yelling, saying all types of crazy stuff. Reactive abuse, once again, occurs when someone who has been abused begins to defend themselves by responding to abuse with either physical and or verbal attacks. Y'all, I began crying uncontrollably. And y'all, instead of me cussing him out or fighting with him, these are the exact words that came out of my mouth. Thank you, Carter, for reminding me that I'm beautifully and wonderfully made. I am a beautiful person inside and out. God loves me. He cherished me. I am loved. I mean, the same words of affirmation that I received that same day from Carter, I let it rip because my mind could only revert to the last positive thing before I lashed out on this man. Y'all, the things that Randy was saying was unorthodox. He would literally tell me how messed up of a person I was and how I could get out of his house and how he knew exactly the type of woman I was because he had seen it before. I continued to lie to him and all these false things that didn't even make sense. Y'all, that man pretended to get on that phone and call Carter. He reenacted him dialing Carter's number and pretending to be having a conversation with Carter. That man told whoever he was talking to on the phone, his damn self, come get your girl, dog. She gonna be outside waiting on you because she can't stay here. You can have her, dog. I know you want her anyway. I really thought he called that man. I had absolutely no way of knowing that he did or didn't because I didn't have a way of contacting Carter. But I needed somewhere to go. I couldn't stay there. Y'all, this man looked me dead in my eyes and said, if you walk out of this house, you'll never get back in here. You and your children can find y'all somewhere else to go. And you won't take anything out of this house with you either but the clothes on your back. This is my house. Now, how you like that? Y'all, I went in the boys' room and laid in that bed and I cried. Again, I messed up. Hey guys, I have given you guys parts 1 through 15 of Reminiscing on Regret. Unfortunately, I do have to pause here until next week. I have a lot of things going this week. I fly out to Vegas today. I graduate on Saturday. And I am just really grateful for all of the things that the Lord is doing right now in my current life. I do want to encourage you to share this story with someone that you know that needs it, because my goal is to not only be obedient, but to be able to help somebody, because y'all, we go through this. Narcissism ain't nothing new for nobody. This is something that folks really go through. Like, this is a day-to-day for somebody. This was just a few months for me, but this has been somebody for years. And if it's been you, feel free to let me know. Feel free to inbox me. Let me know if you have any questions. I'll be checking my inbox throughout the week, and I do respond, guys. I know y'all, I'm bagged up right now though, but I have like 170, I think, requests that I need to open. And I know that it's women just pouring out their heart to me, and I'm gonna get to them, guys. I really am. But I hope that it holds you over. I know that y'all ready for me to get into the nitty gritty of this whole thing, but y'all, when I tell you, I gotta take a break, because believe it or not, y'all, this is draining. It is. People that know me, I know y'all probably can see it all in my eyes. See, when I do stuff like this, when I talk about things like this, I don't sleep, I don't eat, because I'm on assignment. But God has pinned me to stop at this very moment. So I love y'all so much. I will be back. I'm excited because I see the Lord working in me, and I see the Lord working in y'all. Just based on y'all comments. The comments are just so different this time around. They're so different this time around. But pray for your girl, man. Pray for me. Continue to keep me in your thoughts, because God has really kept me, guys. If I could just give y'all the entire thing. I'm just giving y'all bits and pieces, but if I could give y'all the entire thing, it would take me probably way longer than I was even in a relationship with him to talk about it, because it's just that deep. But I welcome y'all's other followers. I welcome y'all's comments, and I just love y'all. I love y'all. And for me to get on here and do this, y'all know I got to love y'all, because this just ain't never been me. This ain't never been me. But like I said, I know I'm on assignment and I got to do it. So be blessed. I love y'all so much. I'll see y'all next week. Reminiscing on Regret Part 16. So that next weekend, it's December 3rd, y'all, we got invited to attend Gavin's graduation. Randy couldn't attend because he had another commitment that morning, but I still went. I'm going to show love now. I was so happy for Gavin and for a couple of other people that I also knew that was graduating from seminary. Randy and I still wasn't on good terms. Of course, we argued before he left the house. Real quick, though, here are some tips for responding to a narcissist in an argument. Try to focus on the facts. With a limited capacity for empathy, a narcissist may not be able to truly understand how you feel. Instead, focus on the logical facts, the objective truth, rather than your subjective truth. Focus on I statements. Phrasing your points in the form of I statements can help you get through to the person. So, for instance, you could say, I feel as though you're not considering my needs in this, instead of saying, now you're just being selfish. Okay? Try to stay calm. You may find it helpful to consider the gray rock approach. That is, try to become so boring that the other person don't even find it appealing to try and incite a reaction out of you, because you'll give them absolutely nothing. If possible, maintain a neutral face, peaceful attitude, and limited emotional reactions, especially in the face of anger. Try to stay focused. If possible, do not allow yourself to get derailed by manipulation tactics. Try to assert your boundaries with confidence. In order to hold your ground, set healthy boundaries and maintain direct eye contact. Now, if you're in danger, leave ASAP. Because in some cases, a relationship with a person who has NPD can turn toxic, abusive, or dangerous. Now, if someone starts to make threats against you in any way, it's best to leave the argument as soon as possible. Some threats can include calling the police on you, taking legal action against you, physical threats towards you, towards your loved ones, or towards your pets. Now, moving on. I know it was something small that caused us to have a major argument, but whatever. So after the graduation, Gavin and his wife, they did host a brunch to celebrate. Randy had already told me he wasn't coming to none of it. Now, let me add that Daryl and his fiance attended the graduation. I tried to keep my distance away from him at all times. Daryl did speak to me at that restaurant. We did chop it up briefly, but I made sure to stay so far away from Daryl. So we sit down at the table, we start ordering, and y'all, I say, let's go ahead and get the bottomless mimosas going, because surely Randy wasn't coming, right? Yeah, guess who showed up? Randy. So he comes and he sits down next to me, portraying to be the most loving fiance a woman could ever ask for. He spoke to everyone. He even acknowledged me with a kiss. Y'all, it was so bizarre that he showed up because he was adamant about not attending neither one of the events. Meanwhile, Gavin gives a nice speech thanking all of us for being a part of his special day. We take pictures and we leave. Y'all, I felt it in my spirit that things were about to end very soon between me and Randy because I started plotting on how I could get myself and my children out of that house. Micromanipulation is a subtle form of emotional abuse that narcissists use in their closest relationship to regain a sense of control. Narcissists can't accept the fact that another person don't want to be with them. So if they sense that their partner is pulling away, they're going to go to extreme lengths to wrestle them back. Now, the next day, we wake up as usual, normal. I sit up in the bed. I began praying and doing what I normally do in the morning before my feet hit the ground. I looked over at him, greeted him good morning. He was cool. So I got up, I started getting myself together, and I asked him to go and get the kids up. Now, he told me before going out of the room what color we was going to wear to church that day. He desired to wear lavender that day. He had a thing that we always needed to be color coordinated with one another, especially at church. I looked in the closet and I noticed that my lavender dress had a stain on it. So I began dressing myself in a different color dress. Now, when he come back in the room, he asked me, why you not wearing the color I told you we was wearing? And I told him, okay, that dress got a stain on it. The man went into the closet, picked that dress out of the closet and held it up and said, now show me the stain. And I pointed to it. So he said, so you're not going to put the dress on? I said, I'm wearing the dress that I currently got on, bro. So what time you gonna be ready? Because I don't want to be late for church. That man looked at me and said, you gonna go by yourself. The kids and I, we gonna watch it online today. Who kids? My children going with me, and that's on God. Because once again, he reminded me that if I took my kids with me, there wouldn't be a way for me to get back inside the house. Now, remember I mentioned in some other parts about reactive abuse. Also, remember that trigger warning at the beginning. All right, good. I told them, you know what, man, this over. I'm done. I don't want to be with you no more. It's obvious you a narcissist. And I mean, I'm going completely ham in the mouth. You know what I'm talking about? So I ended up pushing him. And that man pushed me back so hard, I fell to the ground immediately. Baby, I got back up and tried to literally hurt this man any way I knew how. I was so tired of that verbal abuse, the back and the forth, the controlling, his narcissistic ways. Baby, I ended up ripping that man's wife beater off of him. That man looked at me and said, you about to lose everything you ever worked so hard for. I didn't realize that man set a phone up to record all of this. He had 2 devices, so one was already press and record. I'm going to get back to that later. He picked up both of them devices from the nightstand and proceeded to dial 911. Y'all, I started pleading and telling him, bro, you push me. So if they come, we both going. I done got broke nails and all. So he wanted this reaction out of me. He walked out that house and walked down that street pretending to call 911. Y'all, he never even called the cops. So I got a few of my kids' things in a backpack. I put my kids in the truck and I drove off. I called my brother crying, telling him this man is calling the police and me and my kids, we out on the street. Like this man really calling the cops on me. In my head, I'm about to get arrested for domestic violence. His shirt torn, he recorded us fighting, and my nails broken bleeding. I knew it was bad. Covert narcissists may exhibit manipulative and controlling behaviors, including using the police as a tool to intimidate or control others. This behavior can stem from a desire for power and a need to maintain a sense of superiority. It's important to remember that these actions are harmful and can have serious consequences for the individuals involved. If you or someone you know is experiencing this type of behavior, it's important to seek support from trusted individuals or professionals who can provide guidance and help navigate the situation. So I roll over to my brother's house to regroup. Before I got to my brother's house, though, I'm calling Nicole, Quita, that's Gavin's wife, and they don't answer. I didn't even realize, y'all, they was already in church. They was in church. I then go ahead and call Gavin's phone. Quita picked up. I could hear the choir in the background. Hello, sis. Y'all, I'm bawling. I'm in tears. And I explained to her what was going on. I just kept saying, man, I need to get my stuff. I need to get my kids' stuff. Y'all, I got to get at this man's house. Please. I was pleading for help. She eventually told me that she'll get Gavin to try and reach out. But there was another person at the church that I would often confide in as well. Her name Rachel. And I ended up contacting Rachel. Luckily, she was at home and she wasn't at church. Her husband, Adam, is in ministry in the church. So I asked her, I said, could you at least have Adam reach out to Randy? Because I just want my stuff out his house. She cared about my well-being and my children, and she prayed with me. Baby, she prayed the angels down. Do you hear me? She been there before. Trust me. So I took my children on a drive after I left my brother's house, and I began to apologize to them for what they witnessed. I kept telling them, Mama was okay, and I'm so sorry. My oldest just continued to say, it's okay, Mama. Mama, why he so mean to you? He don't love you because he wouldn't be so mean to you, right? That's not what love is it, Mama? I had to remind my son that this was on me. This was my fault. I went from peace to chaos in just a matter of months. Here's a message for you, though. Love could be explained as wanting the best for someone, and that's exactly what God intends for us. God loves you simply because he loves you. You don't have to work for his affection. You don't have to set yourself straight before God can pour out his love over you. Allow God's love to heal you, transform you, free you, and lead you to the abundant life he has always longed to give you. 1 John 4:16, that's a good reminder. About 2 to 3 hours later, I received a text from Rachel, and she said, Adam said, go home. So I called her. She explained to me that Randy was extremely calm when Adam called. Adam understood that it had become physical, but he wanted to, he wanted me to speak with Randy, and it was okay for me to go on back to the house. Adam asked me to just have a conversation with this man. So I called Randy, and I told him, look, I'm coming to the house, but I'm trying to get my stuff, and obviously we need to have some sort of conversation. He extremely calm. He said, okay. Narcissists act like nothing happened following a dispute or an argument because they may not view their behavior as problematic. They lack empathy and the capacity to comprehend how their actions affect others. And also because they don't want to accept responsibility for their behavior or make an apology because doing so will weaken their sense of superiority. Part 17, Reminiscing on Regret. I get back to the house and I said, according to Adam, we need to have a conversation. Randy looked at me and said, you can say what you need to say, but there's really nothing that we need to discuss. So I asked him if the cops had shown up. He told me that they didn't and they weren't coming. So I asked him, how do you know that? And he says, because I told them that I didn't need an officer to come out. I just needed them to document the call in case I need the report in the future. Sir, 911 don't work that way. In other words, I truly believe that Randy dialed 311 instead of 911. Now, he played that too well. He had done that before. Pathological lying or excessive and compulsive lying not caused by external factors is a common symptom among individuals with NPD. Narcissists often use lying as a tool for manipulation and to maintain a false image of themselves. Pathological lying intertwines with gaslighting, where the narcissist distorts reality to make their victim question their own sanity. The constant manipulation of truth undermines the victim's confidence. Victims of narcissistic lies experience a gradual erosion of trust. The constant deception leaves them questioning the authenticity of every interaction, creating a pervasive atmosphere of doubt. Living in a web of lies subjects victims to emotional turmoil. The confusion and manipulation disrupt their emotional well-being, leading to anxiety, self-doubt, and a diminished sense of reality. That night, Randy and I had to have a conversation. Now, when you've been in an argument with your narcissistic person, partner, family member, friend, you leave normally feeling exhausted, unheard, and unloved. There was nothing even resolved. You just glad it ended because it lasted for at least an hour of them berating you for things that happened in the past, things that never happened, or something totally unrelated to the reason you started the discussion in the first place. But now the narcissistic person really want to make up with you. If you don't know a lot about narcissistic characteristics or toxic patterns, you will probably think they love you and they want to repair the relationship because they value it. After all, that's why you want to make up with this person. If you believe, like most of us do, that other people think like you, that makes total sense. However, thinking that other people think like you is a mistake, especially when a toxic person is involved. Narcissistic people don't think like you at all. They think of arguments like a game where there's winners and losers. So Randy began to insist on how we needed to make a quick decision on premarital counseling because he still wanted to make this work and he loved me. He actually apologized too, but I knew deep down I still needed to get out. In the coming days, we still continue to argue, bump heads, all the while it's something small. I'm becoming less and less agitated with him because at this point I understood, hey, I need to just go ahead and leave this relationship. I started using tactics to calm myself when I knew he just wanted to cause tension. I started losing my desire to cook, to work, to live, and to understand how I allowed myself to spin that block again on another toxic situation. All the while, I'm trying to create better plans for myself, knowing that I went against God's will. Now, let's fast forward to December 16th. Our children's elementary school hosted a Christmas party. Now, my oldest son's father, Michael, is extremely active in Walker's life. He doesn't miss much, and if he does, it's because he absolutely can't make it due to unforeseen circumstances. He's an outstanding father. However, he also showed up to the Christmas party. Now, Lauren and Walker are in two different grade levels. At the time, Lauren was 5th grade and Walker was 1st grade. Randy knew that the parties were going to be in 2 separate classrooms. Now, for some reason, he had a little problem with me being in my child's party and not really staying with him in Lauren's classroom. See, Randy has always felt that Michael and I still had feelings for one another and we just couldn't stop communicating at all, even though all of our conversations were about Walker. Now, I need to backtrack to a significant event that I failed to mention that occurred in November. My apologies. On November 21st, 2022, a day after my birthday, Michael called to tell me happy belated birthday. I was coming in the house from the gym, sweating and out of breath, because I'm big, and Randy was in the laundry room. I had the phone on speaker. Michael was simply calling to wish me a happy birthday and being silly as he normally would, talking about, hey man, you getting old, ain't it? How old you is now? Just lollygagging, ignorant. Randy asked me if the conversation had anything to do with Walker as the call is still actively connected. So I know Michael can hear him. I muted that phone and I said, man, he just wishing me a happy birthday. This every year. He said, hang that phone up. If he ain't calling to discuss Walker, y'all don't have nothing to discuss. Hang the phone up before I do it. Bruh, what? I unmuted the call and I said, Mike, let me call you back, bruh. See, Randy had turned into Jody when he had told Yvette, I want a block on the goddamn phone tomorrow with your black ass. Same thing. Narcissists are jealous of everybody over everything. Most seem to believe that everyone else has everything they don't, and they are extremely envious and resentful of that. It reminds them of how inadequate they are and their circumstances are. Randy didn't have a good co-parenting relationship with Lauren's mama, so he didn't expect for me to have the same with Walker's daddy. He also indicated to me in other conversations that he had an expectation of me being more so of a football trophy wife, like a do as I say type woman. He couldn't have known who he was talking to or dealing with. The only man that I'm going to ever bow down to is God. And women, we can sometimes get submissive and controlling, confused. But trust me, there'll be things that I'll share in the future, whether it's on TikTok or through whatever platform God has purposed for me to do such, that will come later on in the future about the difference between being a submissive woman or being fully controlled. In retrospect, no man should ever have higher expectations of you than they daddy did or they mammy. All right, moving along. Now, back to the November situation with Michael. I left this out also. Remember I told y'all I only had one job in the house, right? Well, I wanted to wash my gym clothes that day because I was running out of stuff to wear to the gym. The man told me that I couldn't wash my clothes, y'all. Baby, them clothes got washed. But of course now it came with a fight. Not to mention, y'all do remember it's my washer. But he said it was his water going into the washer. Baby, it's the entitlement for me. That's a true narcissist. Now, let's jump back quickly to the Christmas party at the school. So Michael and I are watching our son interact with his friends, and we're enjoying the party, and slightly we're catching up. Randy walks in with Lauren, and I'm assuming her party was over in her classroom. Randy asks me if I'm about ready to head out. I did have to go to work that day. Y'all know them school parties, they start at like 9:50 to 10:50. They weird times. So I told him that we could leave. So as we walking out to the car, Randy asked me if I thought that Michael and Walker would be interested in joining him and Lauren for lunch at Cheddar's. I said, I doubt it, but let me go and ask. So I called Michael up and I said, yeah, he want to know if y'all want to go eat. He said, yeah, I'll meet him over there. Child, these two folks went to Cheddar's with these children, and I went on to work. Now, I ain't gonna lie. I was a little frantic because he is supremely jealous of my relationship with Michael. What on earth could they possibly talk about or would be talking about, or what would be the topic of discussion? Is Randy going to try to fight this man if he asks him something, or like all type of stuff started surfacing through my brain because the man ain't well in my eyes. And Randy was not answering the phone the entire time. When I looked up, child, it had been a while. I ended up calling Lauren's phone, and she answered and told me that they was finishing up eating. Girl, get your daddy to call me ASAP, because it had at least been 2 hours at this point. So he finally calls me back and he says, hey, we just now getting done. We're about to get ready to head back to the house. So I say, yeah, how did lunch go? It seemed like y'all was, having a good time, because I tried calling you a couple of times and you didn't answer the phone. He tell me, oh yeah, the lunch was cool, but straight up, man, that man, he's still in love with you. I told him, no, I don't believe that. But what else did y'all discuss? He told me that he discussed how he helps Walker with his homework and how the structure is in our home. Basically speaking solely on Walker and his concerns that he saw that needed to be discussed with Michael as his father. I said, okay, good. It sounded like the discussions were positive and helpful for both parties. Unfortunately, that's not at all what happened, according to Michael. So I eventually tell him that I needed to go ahead and get back to work. Therefore, I would call him back a little later when it was time for me to head home. Y'all, I called Michael instead. Part 18, reminiscing on regret. I called up Michael and I said, hey, I just wanted to check in to see how the lunch went. Michael then proceeds to inform me how Randy sat at that table at Cheddar's and tried to coach him on how to raise his own son. Now, at this time, Randy is about 28 years of age. Michael has a good 8 to 10 years on Randy, just about. So the fact that another man, father at that, is trying to tell another man how to raise his own child is beyond me. I did apologize to Michael, and I told him that I should have never called him. I should have told Randy that you had already made me aware of a prior commitment that you and Walker had after the party, and I should have just told him that it wasn't a good idea. Truth be told, Michael was offended. Michael already knew about a few things that I experienced in this relationship with Randy, because I have always been transparent with Michael, especially because our co-parenting relationship is pretty decent. I did not bring up what Michael told me to Randy because I knew it would be an argument, but I did not appreciate him trying to downplay Michael as if he was not doing the best that he could as a father to my child. Living in that house with Randy, I witnessed things that I would never speak of, but I pray often to God that he has overcome a lot of what he dealt with in his past, because it bled over to him as an adult and it eventually affects him as a father. But God can change anybody. Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, he is a new creation. The old has passed away. Behold, the new has come. That's 2 Corinthians 5:17. Now, Big Mama was fully aware of what I was experiencing with Randy. She often would tell me, child, he's not the man that God has for you. Randy started to not agree with me being so close to Big Mama after all, but she was always respectful of my relationship. It's almost impossible to see the big picture if we're looking at it too closely. That's why it's quite hard to notice our own mistakes and the deep cracks in our relationship. Though it's never too hard to observe other people's problems and the cracks in their relationships. This is exactly what a narcissistic person fears. They're afraid that someone will see the big picture and warn you about it. Because deep down, narcissistic people are much like little children who lack a true identity, and they feel the need to put on their mask every morning. They're afraid that one day this mask will fall and expose their true colors. If their chosen victim refuses looking at things through their eyes and starts talking about how they truly feel, people around them may realize what's actually going on. As a result, narcissists try their hardest to keep their victims away from other people's perspectives so that they can easily manipulate them to their heart's desire. Now, as a person in ministry, Big Mama was very concerned of how much my spirit was intaking because she could see my gift starting to make room for me, but she knew that he wasn't supposed to be a part of my life. She even revealed to me that he wasn't being truthful with me about several things without even knowing the things he was saying to me. I'm not telling y'all to listen to everybody that claims that they hear from the Lord, but just know that the Lord does use people to provide wise counsel to you when you can least expect it. Y'all, my spirit was extremely weak. I was praying, but I did not think that God was hearing me. I was confused, and confusion is not of God. I was going crazy mentally because of the emotional abuse. I felt like I was financially stuck. I was really under spiritual attack because I was also seeking after ministry heavily. Listen, you may not believe this, but narcissism is more than a personality disorder, a cultural issue, the result of childhood trauma, or a biological predisposition. These may play their part, but it is also possible that the narcissist in your life is influenced and empowered by demonic spirits. We are triune beings, body, soul, and spirit, and therefore all three of these dimensions have a part to play in forming narcissism in a person. Narcissism can grow out of trauma to the soul in childhood, accepting ungodly beliefs and coming into agreement with lies. See, the spirit of witchcraft is connected to the spirits of Jezebel and Ahab. The narcissist thrives on control, manipulation, and deception, all aspects of walking in witchcraft and the occult. The spirit of lawlessness empowers a narcissist to think they are above the law, above the rules, and above God's commandments, where they refuse to come under any authority or to be held accountable for their actions. This spirit empowers narcissists to believe they are a law unto themselves. And then that lying spirit, this spirit causes narcissists to be pathological liars until they are more comfortable lying, withholding the truth, and using deception than being honest, truthful, and transparent. See, y'all already know Satan is the father of all lies. And when he lies, he speaks his native language. Satan is the original narcissist. Anyone who practices a life of lying and deception speaks the same language as Satan and is empowered by a lying spirit. This spirit enables many other spirits because it numbs the conscience to lying. On December 17th, Big Mama's organization partnered up with a singles ministry and hosted a Christmas carol at a church. Now, of course, we agreed to support. He was asked to be there quite early to assist with unloading. Big Mama asked me to get some items from Sam's Club. I stopped, picked them items up, and I went straight to the event. At the event, I met a couple of wonderful people that were in ministry. One of the pastors, he introduced himself to me. We began chatting. Randy was outside working the drive-through line for people to pick up some needed items that were being presented to the public. Now, that pastor, he was African. So he kept mentioning to Big Mama and her daughter that he would get them fufu after the event. Now, I ain't never had no fufu and I never desired to try that. But they insisted that I was surely missing out. Now, as the day went on, the pastor eventually found me again and said, "Hey, I'm going to run and grab food. Would you like anything?" I said, "Now, I don't want no fufu. That's for sure." Now, so he asked me, what you want? I told him, look, just bring me some little McDonald's or something like that. So he did. Now, when the pastor got back, handed me my food, Randy spotted me and walked up to me and said, "Where you get that food from?" I told him the pastor went and grabbed food. That man argued me up and down in that parking lot. And the pastor, he just couldn't understand. I said, he went and got the food and he brought it. And he was like, well, he ain't got it for nobody else. Y'all, that man did get food for other people, but Randy didn't focus on anyone else but what someone did for me. Then Randy tells me, "Hey, go on in the church because I think it's getting a little too cold out here for you." It was December, so it was cold out. But at this moment, Randy was using an isolation tactic on me. First of all, you must be able to recognize when someone is attempting to isolate you from others. You do whatever you need to avoid isolation and any other harmful weapon a narcissist uses. And remember, a narcissist suffers from NPD, which is a hard condition to navigate. They actually have a low self-esteem, and they try to offset this by feigning grandiose behavior. Analyzing this behavior is complicated. These behaviors are not easy to change, so they can affect your health. Your mental and your physical health are more important than retaining an unhealthy relationship. Part 19, Reminiscing on Regret. It's December 24th. The 3 organizations that I serve with partner with one another to host Christmas in the community at a storage unit close to downtown Houston. Man, I was super excited. I love serving with Big Mama and my brothers and sisters in Christ. And holidays are big for me because serving the less fortunate is really my thing. Keep this in mind. Narcissists desire to be the center of attention at an event. They will do whatever they can to have that attention, even if it's harmful to the people they proclaim to care about. We ride to the event together and I drive. Now, before we get to the event, I'm quiet. Some in my spirit told me the event was going to be a disaster. So essentially, I was just trying my best to be as calm as possible. We pull up. I immediately get out, connect with Big Mama and the ladies. Randy connects with the men to begin the unloading to bring the items down the elevator. And there is always a lot of men there, given the circumstances of heavy lifting and things of that sort. There was a man there that I had never seen before at any of the other events. He was a friend of Will's. So we are all placing items out on the tables and setting up for the event. Big Mama gets somebody to grab me and tell me, hey, I need you to go up to the elevator with that guy to get some more boxes for your table. She knew that I was going to need assistance bringing the boxes down, so she selected him to assist me. Randy was busy doing other stuff, so no one was even thinking about him being able to help me. Big Mama said, help my daughter bring the boxes down. I'm sure you know exactly what happened after this. Randy spotted me walking with that man, and he watched me until the elevator door closed. Now I get on the elevator and I tell this man, hey, this is not going to end well for me today. So the guy introduces himself and he asks me, if everything is okay. I told him that I saw that look in Randy's eyes, and I just know he was about to make this a huge deal because we was going to grab some boxes. The guy then tells me, listen, sis, I've been married for almost 7 years, and if a man can't trust you to come out to serve the people, knowing that you're going to have to be around other men, you don't need to be with him. He is insecure, and it seems like he's envious. And if you continue to stay, it's going to get worse. I don't know you, but you are attractive, so some men cannot handle that, especially if they haven't been with anyone that looks like you. You and my wife, y'all really could be twins, and I know that if she was here, she would tell you the same thing. He probably don't know what he got, but just be careful. Now, give or take, this man was late 30s, early 40s, and he was giving me wisdom. I really needed that at the time. He wasn't flirting. He was just being very genuine and sincere. Almost like a big brother providing a baby sister with support. He saw the pain in my eyes. He knew that this was not foreign to me at all. He just kept telling me, be careful. Men like that can be dangerous. We make it back downstairs. Immediately, Randy runs up to me and say, what y'all go up there for? I told him Big Mama sent us up there for more boxes. He said, of course she did. She know exactly what she doing. Next time, I'm going to go get whatever you need for your table. Now, by this time, Carter pulled up. Y'all remember Carter, right? I ain't seen Carter since the November serving event where we chopped it up about that suicidal attempt and incident. So we embraced, and I was like, what's up, bro? What's good? Now, I ain't gonna lie, Carter and we had a special bond now because of that. That was my homie. As soon as we broke contact, I glanced over and I noticed that Randy was looking at me while holding Big Mama's banner for her nonprofit organization with a pocket knife in his hand. He had a look of anger in his eyes. Y'all will not believe that he broke that banner with that knife. That was Big Mama's only banner. Y'all, I couldn't believe it. She never even asked Randy to put the banner up. She asked Josh, but Randy went and got it from Josh and broke it. And to this day, I know it was intentional. This made Big Mama furious, but she held her composure at that event. So Carter and we started working tables close by one another. And we started serving the people. Randy walked over and tell Carter, hey man, pass me that empty box from behind you. And Randy then looks at me and say, yeah, while you over here riding all on Carter's, you know what? Y'all, my mouth flew open. Y'all, there is Christmas music playing. There are folks praying in the corner. And there are less fortunate individuals here in the Christmas spirits because we're giving back. And don't let this man have it. I said, say, man, don't make me bitch your MF and A out here in front of all these DAMN people. He is walking past saying, yeah, all right, you ain't gonna do SHIT. I just turned around and I began to cry. Because there's a certain way to conduct yourself in public, let alone when you at an event like that. Carter and Will, they came to me and they said, Queen, it's okay. Just breathe. It's okay. Narcissists are super vindictive and they have zero conscience. The more frustrated and emotional you get about the whole situation, the more it's going to backfire against you. You have to understand one thing. The narcissist is doing it all deliberately. And because narcissists have no empathy and no conscience, they don't care if you get hurt. They don't want to resolve no conflict. They enjoy that. Narcissists can detect who is reactive and they will go after those people and have fun pushing their buttons. One of their most powerful weapons is smear campaigning. They'll tell anybody who would listen what a horrible, deranged, crazy person you are and what terrible things you done did to them. The problem is that most people gonna believe them. The narcissist is really vicious. So Joy, Will's wife, she pulls me away and she says, come on, sis, it's time we talk. She sat me down and she began explaining to me about how she understood the level of frustration I had, but don't ever allow anyone to take your power. You can't control the next individual, but you can always control how you respond to them. Now, it's in this moment that I really understood that I needed to learn how to respond instead of reacting. Here was another teaching moment for character building for me. The main thing to learn is mindfulness and the pause. Mindfulness means watching yourself when something happens that might normally upset you or trigger some kind of emotional reaction. Pay close attention to how your mind reacts. Then pause. You don't have to act immediately just because you have an internal reaction. You can pause, not act, breathe. You can watch this urge to act irrationally arise, then let it go away. Sometimes that takes a few seconds. Other times it means you should remove yourself politely from the situation and let yourself cool down before you respond. Pause, watch the reaction go away. Now, consider what the most intelligent, compassionate response might be. What can you do that will help your relationship, teach, make the situation better, calm everybody down, including yourself? At first, you might mess up, but what did Leah say? If at first you don't succeed. But in time, you'll learn to watch this reaction and you'll get better at the pause. Don't get frustrated if you mess up. Just resolve to be more mindful when it happens next time. Always take note of what happened to trigger your reaction and pay attention when something like that happened again. She started giving me more pointers on how she used to be hot-headed and how she would react. Now, after speaking with Joy, I told her, sis, I gotta go. I need to get home because I was completely humiliated. I didn't want to do nothing for the rest of the day. The brothers, they still had Randy pulled away speaking to him. Carter found me before I walked out and he said, listen, I'm so very sorry. It seems like I may have caused this and I don't know what I did, but I don't want to ever see you cry like this. I had to explain to him that Randy thought every man wanted me and his insecurity has caused a lot of our fights and arguments, but I knew what I needed to do to be free from it. I told him I had to figure it out. Again, he reminded me that he didn't mean no harm. Big Mama walked up to me before I left also and said, somebody told me what had happened. We most definitely gonna talk about it now. We're gonna talk about it. I already knew what we was gonna have to communicate about. I already knew this. But when she did hit me up later on, she wanted to check on me, make sure I was okay mentally. And that's what I needed her to do in that moment. Now, Randy didn't have much to say to me on the ride home. And before we made it to the event, we did agree that we were going to Christmas Eve church service that night. And we did go to service. During this time, we transitioned into another church closer to where we lived. We left that other church and it was a mutual agreement. But at church, I remember crying and praying silently. God, please take me out of this mess that I got myself in. Please show me later why I keep making poor choices in the first place. I can't keep going down this road, Lord. It's not fair to myself. It's not fair to my children. This brokenness in me has caused a lot of others pain. How can I be better for your kingdom? What should I do? Now I repent of not listening to you, discerning what's best for my life, placing my precious babies in harm's way. Just get me out of this, God. God's love wrapped around me like a glove. I felt his presence almost immediately. When you get in the arms of Jesus and when you sit with yourself, he'll begin to show you how he can turn brokenness into wholeness, pain into purpose, hate into love, curse into blessing, regret into favor. A story that can be told to minister to others that are walking the road now or have walked it.